Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 10th chapter, text number 12. Yatakshasu manobuddhi tattvadrigdvashtabandhanaha astitaha paramam yogam nadeham bubude gatam. Translation. Dadichi Muni controlled his senses, life force, mind and intelligence and became absorbed in trance. Thus he cut all his material bonds. He could not perceive how his material body became separated from his self. Purport. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Antakkale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayaha. Whoever at the time of death quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Of course, one must practice before one is overcome by death. But the perfect yogi, namely the devotee, dies in trance thinking of Krishna. He does not feel his material body being separated from his soul. The soul is immediately transferred to the spiritual world. Tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mameti. The soul does not enter the womb of a material mother again, but is transferred back home, back to Godhead. This yoga, Bhakti Yoga, is the highest yoga system, as explained by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita. Yoginam api sarvesham madgate antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, he is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The Bhakti Yogi always thinks of Krishna, and therefore at the time of death, he can very easily transfer himself to Krishna Loka without even perceiving the pains of death. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Yata kasho mano buddhis tattvadrigdvashta bandhanaha astitaha paramam yogam nadeham bubude gatim. Dadichi Muni controlled his senses, life force, mind and intelligence and became absorbed in trance. Thus he cut all his material bonds. He could not perceive how his material body became separated from his self. So, in the 6th canto, the pastime of Vritrasura is being mentioned here, and in that context, as you must have heard in the previous chapter, the demigods who were all defeated by Vritrasura had to devise some other method to tackle Vritrasura, and thus they have approached now Dadichi Muni to offer his body for regaining what has been lost by the demigods. So these are examples that are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, which depict extreme divine qualities of great saints, where Dadichi is offering his entire body to help the demigods. Whereas we can see in this material world, in the current age and time, people are so possessive about the smallest of the things. Dadichi has got nothing to do with the plight of the demigods. He is not affected in any way. But yet, Dadichi is saying, okay, you have come to me, I am willing to give.
It's nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
So, how to refine our consciousness and achieve the highest state of consciousness is what Srimad Bhagavatam's aim is. It is its main objective is to transform our consciousness. And transformation of our consciousness is happening when we hear the Katha of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is referring to these great personalities. Ultimately, our consciousness is built on what we hear. From the beginning of our life, it is the Shabda, the various sounds that we hear, makes our consciousness. Hear the right words, hear the right subjects, and you will develop appropriate consciousness. And Srimad Bhagavatam is a work that enables the transformation of our consciousness from material to spiritual and attaining the highest perfection of our life. So the various kathas that are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam is an enabler for us to achieve this highest perfection. So that is why repeatedly it is stressed, Shanmatam Swakatak Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Radantasto Yabhadrani Vidunoti Surutsatam. When we hear Krishna Katha, all the dirty things within our heart is completely vanquished and we are situated in the highest truth. So we are hearing about how Daditi's supreme sacrifice without any calculation. In the material world, everything that we do, every action that we perform here, we are always assessing. We are always calculating. What is there in this for me? What is there in this for me? This is karmi mentality. He is always thinking anything. Just like we say, give respect, take respect. What is our philosophy saying? Amanina manadena. Exactly opposite. Give respect, don't expect respect. Material world, give respect, take respect. Give cash, take item. Right? In the shops there will be sometimes in the board, I don't know nowadays before they used to put only cash. Transaction will be done, only cash. So, that is the nature of this material world. The purpose of our Vedic understanding is completely different. Because living entity's nature is to serve the Lord without any expectation. Haituki apratiyata. Haituki, there is no condition there. Apratiyata, there is no condition at all. Here in this material world, there is a condition for everything. Everything is conditional. Nothing is unconditional. Everything is conditional. Material nature is also conditional. By design, it is built like that. In this material world, even if you want to get some good thing, Krishna says, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says, in the material world, if you want sukha, if you want nice things to happen, Krishna says, you have to do sacrifice. You have to satisfy some other persons. That's how it is built. So if you see, if you ask the behavior of Dadichi, there's nothing. Sometimes when we read, we think, why is he doing it? What is the reason for that? It's really no cause at all. Why has somebody got to sacrifice his body for that? There's no cause. They came and asked, he gave it off. Why is he doing it? Actually, the only reason he is doing it is, you know what? He doesn't identify at all with his body. When you identify yourself with something, you have attachment to that. You are possessive about it. He is so self-realized person, he doesn't have any attachment or identification with his body at all. So easily he is able to give up. We are not able to give up. We feel pain and pleasure with respect to our body. There is no element of pain or pleasure for Dadichi. That's why Bhagavatam is saying, in some other place, it is saying, one should consider this body as malavat. Nobody is attached to a stool. Anybody is there here? Nobody is there. We don't even want to see. So, our body and our possessions, Bhagavatam is saying we should look at it in that way. Now, here is an example of a person who has actually put that into life, into actual into reality. He has made that happen. That consciousness, that development of consciousness is so refined that he says, no, they have come and asked and I am doing it. So he is very easily able to do. Very easily able to do it. So when we read this, it inspires us. Where is our consciousness? Where is our consciousness? We can only assess. Prabhupada says nobody else can assess one's own consciousness other than oneself. We ourselves can measure our consciousness, where we lie. That here it is being said, Dadichi Muni controlled his senses, life force, mind and intelligence and became absorbed in trance. Thus he cut all his material bonds. He could not perceive how his material body became separated from his life. Forget it, I am sitting here, one small ant comes and bites me. I'll stop giving the class, I'll say, oh, what's happening? We are so bodily conscious. We cannot separate ourselves from one small ant coming and pricking us. Here he is saying he separated his entire mind, body, senses, everything, separate. Now in real terms, body would have worked, it would have had its own elements, but completely detached. Same way, there are so many examples in the Srimad Bhagavatam of similar kind of personalities. Parikshit Maharaj. He heard, immediately he said, I am giving up all my kingdom, everything. In the current material world, they are planning how to retain myself and keep myself in the coffin, and then so that, I'll wake up after another. There are so many research going on like that. Hoping that this body will continue and how to enjoy this body further. To keep on extending our life. Bhishmadev is lying on the shaya, on the bed of arrows. As soon as he come to know, he said, leave all this, I want to go there. The Pandavas, they left everything and they went. Vidura, followed by his brother, everybody left. So many examples. Similarly, one is the detachment examples. Second is the sacrifices example. Like Dadichi is showing detachment, second sacrifice. These are all very, very important aspects for any Krishna conscious practitioner. In our life, we should inculcate these things. Sacrifice, very important aspect. There are examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shibi, sacrificing. The example of Shibi, the example of Rantideva, sacrifice. Willing to give, cut off, take, no problem. And another aspect is how the nature of spirit, it is not influenced by anything connected to the body. Nothing connected to the body. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, various aspects. Like how when in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains the nature of spirit, the nature of matter. And he gives vivid examples. What is the nature of the matter? What is the nature of spirit? So it is so clear that avinashitu tadviti, the soul is not, it never dies. It is always avinashi. It is always eternal. Then Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, apareyam itasvanyam vidyame param prakritim param. That jiva bhuta mahabhavam yahede dharyate jagat. So you can see what Krishna is talking about, the theoretical part of Krishna's words, the practical example of those principles we can see here. Dadichi recognizes apareyam idam idastiyam. He understands that, beyond this physical dimension, I have a higher vidyame prakritim param. I am beyond these mind, body, senses, the panchabhuta, sharira. I am beyond these kind of things. So I don't identify with that. And he is situating himself in prakritim param. I have a higher prakriti than this lower prakriti. And in that state of consciousness, he is acting. Now, yes, Dadichi acted in a yogic way. And that's why Srila Prabhupada in this purport is saying, yoginam api sarvesham madgate antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. Prabhupada is saying, yes, Dadichi acted or achieved this perfection in a yogic way. But of all the yogis, who is the highest yogi? Same yukta tamo tamaha. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam. The faithful who chants my name. He is also situated in yukta tamaha mataha. He is also situated in that highest connected state of existence, connected with the Supreme Lord, not connected to the material element. So our connection, Dadichi's connection through a yogic way, he established his connection. Prabhupada is here saying in this purport, we can establish our connection through bhajana, same yukta tama. And so Prabhupada is quoting the reference of Bhagavad Gita. The various aspects. The aspect we can learn from Dadichi's life: detachment, sacrifice, sense control. And then appropriately adopt those principles in a Krishna conscious way. So Bhagavatam provides us knowledge, and the instructions of Srila Prabhupada gives us the method in which we can adopt those principles in our Krishna conscious day-to-day life. Very easily we can adopt. Elsewhere, I'll just so you can see how Dadichi, he gave his life to empower Indra. He recognizes Indra is appointed by whom? By the Supreme Lord. So he recognizes that Indra is the appointed person of the Supreme Lord, and I need to act in support of that person. That means servitude. Recognizing that the Lord, it is not just Dadichi engaging in the service of Indra. It is Dadichi's recognition that Indra is a authorized representative of the Supreme Lord. Yes, Indra, Devendra is actually he is representing the Supreme Lord in his position as the heavenly king. So we need to act in that way. Again, the principle of, in our context, the principle of being servant of the servant. We have to recognize that it's not just when we think Krishna, it's not only Krishna. Krishna, servant, servant, servant. I am Dasa, Dasa, Anu Dasa. That is the principle. And recognizing, in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is mentioned, Gneyam yat tat pravakshyami. In the third canto we have read, Gneyam yat tat pravakshyami yajñat amritam ashnute anadimat param brahma nat sat nashaduchyate. That Krishna is, here in the Bhagavatam it is being said that I shall explain the knowable, knowing which you taste the eternal. The Brahman, the beginningless, and the subordinate to me lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. So, Dadichi is recognizing that there is a higher principle, not just the cause and effect of this material world. In our conditional understanding, we are always thinking the cause and effect that is coming in this material world. We are always saying, if I cause this, then there is an effect that will attack me. But here, Dadichi is going beyond the cause and effect principle. And that is possible when you are situated in Brahman, Anadimat Param Brahma. When you recognize that you are not matter, you are spirit. Only then you will go beyond the cause and effect thinking. And another principle, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, which you can see in the life of Dadichi or in the example of Dadichi in this Leela. Etavad janma safalyam. Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, what is real safalyam? What is real achievement? Denam yadeshu prane arte diya vachai shreya acharanam sada. Why? What you should do? It is saying, etavad janma safalyam denam yadeshu prane arte diya vachai shreya acharanam sada. It is saying that the perfection of every living being is to use one's life, wealth, intelligent words in the service of saintly person and a supreme Lord. That is the purpose of our life. To use our life, pranair, arthair, diya, vachair, life, wealth, intelligence and words in the service of saintly persons and the supreme Lord. You see how this principle is very nicely being applied by Dadichi. He is using it. He is seeing it as a service to the Lord. Similarly, we also have to always remind ourselves the purpose, our safalya, our achievement is done. In our life, our achievement is done when we engage our life, wealth, intelligence and words in the service of the Lord. And in terms of tapasya, Dadichi is a great tapasvi. So in that context, we should remember how Nayam deho devajam raloke kashtan kahaman virate vidbujamiya thapo divyam putraka. This is the instruction given by Rishabdev. So every verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam you can connect with every other things also and see that in a different light and expand its scope. It becomes more and more clear that how Srimad Bhagavatam is very, very interconnected. Because ultimately Bhagavatam is trying to establish certain principles of human conduct. What is the best way you can conduct yourself? What is the highest, best possible way you can conduct? You can conduct in many ways, yes. In human, Krishna has given us choice. You can behave like an animal. You can behave like a karmi. But we choose to behave. Krishna consciousness means what? Voluntarily I choose to behave in XYZ way, which will help me bring about the best in me. How to achieve the best in me? How to come to that platform? So, in the Mahabharata it is mentioned how Ranti Deva, he was fasting for so many days. So many days. He was fasting for so many days. Suddenly, a group of beggars come to him. And he says, just take it, okay, you take it. And he says, the verse says, Nakamayayam gatim ishvarat param astume yasho loko sangrahartam. I do not desire liberation or heavenly pleasure. Let my fame live forever for the welfare of others. You see how much it is being stressed that our life is for the welfare of others. Not for being possessive. Oh, this is mine, I want to keep it. This is my salary. This is my status. This is my position. We are always thinking that is typical karmi mentality. We need to go beyond this. If we have to disassociate with our mind, body and senses, this is same kind of a feeling. Just like Lord Ramachandra, He was told, the day of coronation, when the whole Ayodhya is celebrating, he was told, he was not even told, he heard that there is a scenario that I have to go to the forest. He left. Our Srimad Bhagavatam especially says, Manam gato yad harimash. If you want ashraya of Hari, then Manam gato. Manam gato literally also can be done, and in another way also it can be taken. Taken means what? Giving up our material tendencies. And Prabhupada says that. There is no use of going to Vana if you still have inside your heart lot of material desires. You will still try to satisfy your material desires after going to Vana also. That kind of a Vana going is of no consequence. Consequence is what? Consequence when we give up our urge to satisfy our material desires. This is our project. A Krishna conscious devotee's project in life is how he can give up his material desires and get attached to Krishna. It's a project, it can be a project of 20 years, 50 years, 60 years, sometime life after life. That's what our philosophy is all. Mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatat bhakti rahitu kitvi. That's a project that we have taken eternally. In the material world, eternally they are trying to engage how to enjoy the senses, how to enjoy the senses, more and more and more and more and more. You enjoy more and more and more is a recipe for repeated birth and death. The more you want to enjoy, the more you have to suffer. The threefold miseries of material existence will give you more and more and more of sufferings. So intelligence means coming out of this cycle of thinking. I would rather say, instead of saying coming out of the cycle of birth and death, I would say coming out of this cycle of thinking, or coming out of this cycle of consciousness. If you come out of this cycle of consciousness, automatically you have achieved. You have done it. If you build ultimately your bhava is what matters. Antakale chamameva smaran mukva kalevaram yaprayati samad bhava nastyate. Namad bhava. Bhava is consciousness. If you have that consciousness, automatically you have achieved. You have achieved mukti. It doesn't matter to you. That is why we say mukti muktanjali. Mukti will come right in front of you if you are Krishna consciousness. You don't have to go behind mukti. So, giving charity, engaging in service of others, from a Krishna conscious dimension, although we don't discuss all these aspects separately, it is inbuilt into our consciousness, because these aspects are discussed, all these aspects are discussed in vivid details in various leelas. It is not that, sometimes people minimize Krishna consciousness. What is this? You people are only chanting, you people are not doing anything for people. So many things like that. That's not true, factually incorrect. We do that and we do much more than that. What we do much more is what is our prime focus. That's why we don't so much talk about it, because it's a natural consequence of our activities. Doing paropakara, doing charity, doing all these things is a natural ongoing thing. It's not something that you need to explain it so-called way. Whereas somebody who is doing only paropakara, only charity, only sacrifice, he has to speak only about that. He has got no other higher value in life. That's why Prabhupada, our acharyas constantly stress, no, that's okay. That's automatically inbuilt into our system. It's not that we need to separately engage in that. So thank you very much. If there's any question, comments. Yeah. 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 If you eat Krishna prasadam as prasadam, you will not suffer. If you eat Krishna prasadam for sense gratification, then you will also get loose motion. So, prasada can be eaten as prasadam. So, when you eat prasadam as prasadam means what? That means there is some moderation, no? So sometimes we have all seen, we eat prasadam and we fall sick. Every time after fasting, how many of you fall sick? I also fall sick. Fasting day is there. Next morning we eat bindas. We fill all our tummy and we see the after effects of that. Right? So material world, you cannot cheat Krishna. So if you try to cheat Krishna, if you try to cheat certain spiritual principles, this is cheating Krishna. Like for example, we are trying to, that is a weakness of a living entity, cheating propensity is part of our profile. In our resume we should mention, but of course nobody mentions. We have this profile also. Right? So we have a cheating propensity, wherein we say we are Krishna conscious devotee and all those things. But inside story, we have something else also, no? So, prasadam definitely is a liberating, it is a divine mercy of the Supreme Lord. But that divine mercy, when you try to manipulate it for your sense gratification, it affects you. Right? That's simple answer to that. So ultimately, the Krishna conscious principles are, it needs sincerity of practice. So if you try to fool yourself, then you will get fooled also. Dyutam chalayatam asmi tejas tejasvinamaham. Krishna says, if you are cheater, I am better cheater. I am one step ahead of you. So we cannot cheat the Supreme Lord or any of the spiritual principles that are given. So let's not be so over smart. So we understand in what context prasadam is liberating, and sometimes there is a proverb, general proverb actually. Even amrita, if you take in large quantity, it becomes visha. It is amrita. Amrita means which will give you the entire, it will rejuvenate you. But if you eat too much, then it will become poison. So, it needs to understand, we need to understand it. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Narsingadev Bhagavan ki,